Hello and welcome to this new series of videos where we will be trying to revive some of my older projects. And as you can see here, I have prepared Flask block. That's one of my older repos. And we will try to revive it, as I said, using GitHub AI agents. And you can probably see already that most of the work has been dead for more than 4 years at this point. I started this project in somewhere around 2021 and did some work, I think, in January 2022. Let me just check here. So the last meaningful commit is from January 17th, 2022 inside source directory. And that's it. Since then, it was dead. So let's try if we can revive it and maybe improve and see how it goes using those new technology advancements, mainly the GitHub AI agents. And there were some updates from the Panda bot recently, which just means that the package version was updated, but nothing really meaningful has happened. Okay, so here is some description, just so you know what is it about or what was the idea. And of course, this idea might change as we will be progressing, but at least the original one was to have a responsive block, template, or monolith based on the HTTP server with Flask in Python, and single instance of MySQL database storing everything, including roles, the articles for the block, and everything related to that. Yeah, so that was the idea, and maybe we can try to make it a little bit more extendable or scalable, but who knows how far can we go. And the state of the project reached that point, so we could generate the homepage, which was available for everyone, including logged in users and just normal visitors. And there was also a dashboard for the logged in users. I think there was just a single role, so no distinction between, let's say, admins, editors, or authors, or anything like this. Just everyone had the same privileges as soon as they logged in. Could edit the articles, add new articles, and delete the old articles, so CRUD operations. And there was, of course, user authentication, since we had this logged in versus logged out user distinction, and it was implemented without any external dependencies. Yeah, so all the credentials were stored in the same MySQL database, and the whole authentication was implemented from scratch in Python. Yeah? And that's also a vulnerability, so not everything here was perfect, or nothing was perfect, but just trying to explain what was the stage of the project. And for sure we want to make it more production ready or more professional, but everything step by step. So there was user authentication, registration, CRUD operations, admin dashboard. That's what we were looking at just a second ago. And tags, I don't know yet if they were working. I don't know yet. I don't remember if they were working or not, but for sure we will want to add them as well. And one of the ideas was also to make this project from the front-end side 100% customizable. So you could replace all the CSS and everything front-end related by yourself if you wanted to use the same base and just have like the same way of interacting with the backend, but just different front-end. Yeah, and front-end, of course, in this setup is generated on the backend and sent via HTTP requests to the user. Yeah, so it's like server rendered front end. And what else is here? I will not read everything to not bore you to death, but there was some explanation of how to set up database, and maybe we will migrate from MySQL to Postgres, but that's all to be decided. Here was explained how to set it up using Docker, how to add the tables, 2 tables, articles, and users. what kind of columns they were, and so on and so forth. And also the last part was how to start the server itself using Docker as well. Yeah, so you could just copy that command and run it locally or on a dedicated server if you have access to it. And that's it. So that's the current status, and there are multiple ways in which we can improve, in which we can try to modernize it and add new features. And I have gathered with the help of ChatGPT some of the ideas that I will try to implement in this one big ticket or issue, as they are called in GitHub. And I added label epic, yeah, and it's quite long. So here are like all the ideas that I had. How can we proceed from now? But of course, it's way too big to give it as an instruction to any agent at this point in time. So we have to subdivide it into smaller tasks. Yeah. So here are just a collection of everything which we can do in the series. But for now on, let's start with the very first and the easiest probably task of them all, and see if we can even manage to do this in this episode. So the first things first, we need to stand up minimal Flask app with PyTest based smoke test harness. What do I mean by this? Before we begin building new features, we need to ensure that our existing minimal Flask application reliably boots and serves its main page, and optionally allows an admin login via hard-coded fixture. Yeah, so as you can see, we have just a source directory, and inside or outside there are no tests yet. Yeah, so there are different ways to add tests, different strategies, but I prefer to start with end-to-end tests just to make sure that everything works more or less in general. Yeah? And we will add unit tests as we progress, but I prefer to start with an end-to-end test that just checks if the apps, if the app itself, this HTTP server, can even boot up with no errors and serve the main page. And this would be like the most important part. So any new PR, either from me or from an agent or from anyone else, will first be checked against this. Yeah. So if is the main functionality still there? Have we broken this? If that part doesn't work, means that something very bad has happened in the change that is being now requested in the PR, and this needs to be verified. So that's like the first stage of verification and first stage test, and we'll like to start with that. And this will guard against regression from day one by providing a simple smoke test workflow in CI. Yeah, so first we need a script in Python with PyTest, and if it works the way we expect it to be, we can update the GitHub workflow in order for it to be to run on every pull request, to verify if the pull requests don't break anything that is essential for the project. And I also mentioned this, that optionally we can also check the login with admin credentials, because I'm not sure if that on its own won't be too much for an agent during one session to do. Yeah, so the most important part is just checking if it boots up and checking if it can serve this homepage. And if everything goes smoothly, then we can add this additional test for admin login. Yeah, but if not, then we will do it separately, since maybe it will be too much for the agent. So let's copy that and see what the agent can do. So here I'm in GitHub code space. I have loaded that project, and here is the chat with an agent. I just asked it before to read the source code, and that's it. Yeah, so let's start with the first issue, and I will not subdivide it anymore. It's already, I think, small enough task for it to try to implement, and if it doesn't manage, then we will try to guide it and verify everything that it does. So let's start, and let's wait. has updated, has created a second requirements txt file, which I'm not sure if we need. Maybe we can have two requirements, one for development and one for production deployment, but it's not really essential. But definitely I don't see a point at this point in time, at least, to divide the requirements between normal requirements and test requirements. Test requirements should be included in the production requirements. And here is a first file that it has created that I don't like already. That is hard coding the path instead of working through imports. It's creating the Flask app. Okay, but it's starting it has a fixture, but it's starting it using a sub process. Yeah, so it opens another process on the system and tries to start, which might be a good idea. And by the end, here it yields it for any tests to use it, and by the end it will kill it using the OS interface from Python and using its PID and even PGID. Yeah, so it even starts it in a group and sends the seek term. Okay. It created also a CI for it. Run smoke tests. But that might be problematic since I don't think that we have this database, but who knows? Yeah, it will want to, it will create set up a new database in Ubuntu latest and for the purpose of the test. Which is, I think, okay, but don't know how much time it will take. Then it will install both requirements and requirements tests. Sorry, the response hit the length limit. Please rephrase your prompt. So let's see what will happen if I press try again too fast. Maybe it will now remove everything it did. Who knows? Python version 3.10. Don't know if that was the correct version, but we'll see in a second. Prepare DB schema. Starts the database and test schema SQL. It haven't managed to create the schema SQL, and that's something that we will have to ask it to do. Let's see, now it's loading. Doesn't seem to be doing anything. Maybe it's just a smoke screen because I have reached some limits and it's just the front end that is spinning, but nothing happens in the background. Who knows? Let's see. Okay, again, we have hit the length limit. So let's maybe try to ask it to continue setting up the CI for end-to-end smoke test. Let's see if it can pick up on its own or it will need additional guidance. Since that command was too big. Couldn't parse it. But it did something, so one thing already that I want to ask it to do is to remove this test requirements and just merge it with the main requirements, and at some point we may split between like the production, which will be the smaller version, and the dev requirements. But definitely I don't want to have too many versions since that is not that kind of project where you need that many different requirements or that many different environments, since each requirement supposedly should reflect another environment, and here we don't really have any dev setup or anything like this or UAT. It will be just tests that are run on each PR and the prod, if there will be any prod, because that's not yet ready. What I don't like is that we don't know really what is happening right now. It's just saying that it's working, and how long it will be working. So it might take 10 hours to finish one task. But it does something, definitely. At least this part was generated faster than I would do it on my own. Unless, of course, I was using a template, which probably most of the people would use. So again, it's hitting response limit and cannot do anything. So is setting up CI YAML complete. Can it answer it, or is it blocked? It's almost. It checks out code. Yeah, okay. Sets up Python. I've seen it somewhere, like Python 3.10 installs dependencies. Yes, both requirements. Waits for MySQL to be ready. It starts also separate service for MySQL. Prepares the database schema. Assumes test schema SQL exists. So that's what we can ask it to do. Doesn't exist. Please create. And run PyTest tests. Okay. And it runs everything. Yeah. Okay. But here probably we'll have to subdivide to different directories, like one for end-to-end tests, one for unit tests, maybe integration tests. But at the beginning, at the very least, we should have like two different categories. One is end-to-end, which starts the whole application and does something with it. And the second is unit test, which just tests like an individual part. And of course, there's a lot of like debate what exactly is a unit and so on. But I don't want to get into it right now. And again, we have to wait. So it doesn't seem to do much. Maybe it's reading the contents of the files, but who knows? And again, response hit the length limit. So looks like we would have to start a new session in order to continue. So let's push everything to new branch and we'll continue from there. But it created the schema. That's good. That is great. It's created branch CI smoke test setup, added all the changes, and created some commit message. Okay, that is great. So let's see. And let's open a pull request. What was changed? Yeah, so it added the CI workflow for GitHub. It added separate requirements for tests. And those schema files for SQL. Okay, well, it's a good setup, good start, but definitely it will not work yet. Let's see how far it will go. we can see what's happening. Yeah, so it haven't managed to install the dependency. Already in the dependency installation, there are some conflicts. And that will need to be tackled first before we can proceed with any tests. So let's stop here and we will continue next time.